Hi there, it's Kaizen, and today we'll be doing something that this channel is very good at. Glazing VCT professional players to the maximum. This time it will be by comparing some of my favorite GOAT athletes to Valorant players I think you could say have similar story, personality traits, and or approach to their craft. Of course, each person I mention are unique individuals and are a one-of-a-kind talent in their field. This is a just for fun exercise / idea that I'm doing and are my opinions. Also, if this video gets 700 likes, then I'll do a part 2 with other players. First off, let's start with
Football, we call it in Europe.
We call it soccer. Get used to it.
So we call it football.
Yeah, right.
and Lionel Messi, one of the most revered sports legends to ever live. The man has accolades on top of accolades, which really helps his GOAT status. When asking who is the Messi of Valorant, I think we need to take into account the total package. Messi is loved by many and was seen as the hard carry for his national team for years. Trademarked many moments called Messi Magic, great team player, and perceived as quite humble, which is rare to find when you meet a person who has the world at their fingertips. When looking at these factors, I think the answer has to be Tyson tenz no. And don't worry, Argentinian fans, I have a player from the same country as Messi that I will later on mention in the video. But first, a word from today's sponsors. Mini Heroes, Summoner's War. Recruit, command, and conquer in this story-driven adventure that has over 30 chapters and challenging bosses. It has something for both casuals and obsessive players, whether it is PvE or PvP. You can also play anytime, anywhere on your phone or even PC with certain websites. So you can bust out this bad boy for those moments where you're bored or maybe have a long queue time in game. It's a strategy based to keep your brain active as well. Be sure to click the link below if you want to check out a game that has rich rewards, free to play, friendly, and over 30 different forces to customize your journey. Thanks again to Mini Heroes, Summoner's War for this sponsorship. But tenz is without a doubt the Messi of Valorant, and not because he was the first to reach Radiant, which was called Valorant back then, but due to his feats and public character. I mean, if you just put tenz's name on almost anything, his fans will just buy it in droves or just watch. He just has a massive chokehold on the community. Early in his career, he was seen as the hard carry on a pretty raw C9 team. He was the main reason why they would win games due to his aim and skill. However, Cloud9 could not beat well-established teams like Envy at the time. They couldn't even make it past the qualifiers of North America's First Strike. Very reminiscent of a younger Messi on Argentina. Valorant's original Golden Boy started his GOAT run with Sentinels. They blew past NA's competition to make it to Masters Reykjavik. Just like Messi, tenz showed that he was an offensive juggernaut with stats that other players have yet to even come close to beating. I doubt we'll see averages like this broken anytime soon. And one of the things that makes someone the GOAT is how your fellow competitors respect and talk about you.
I think Tyson's a good player. Does it seem like tenz takes too many risky plays? Nah, I feel like the agents he played, he kind of had to make some of those plays. And I feel like if you're going to say that about tenz, you have to say that about a lot of players. This is just a very punishing game. Like, if you make stupid plays and you win, no one says shit. But if you make stupid plays and you lose, you get owned.
Everyone's saying Tyson is terrible. Honestly, I would pay to see you guys play in his situation. I would actually pay good money to see you guys play with like all the factors annoying him. Bro, your fiance has cancer. Are you in the head? Like, I've seen people play way worse than that just today, actually. I said deaf. Alright, y'all weird. Y'all starting to name. Y'all weird. Y'all weird. Alright, we don't have to name people. Alright, it's crazy. This is crazy.
People are saying tenz is not the best player in the world anymore because he lost one tournament. Like, guys, you were calling him the best player in the world when he was on C9. They never won anything. He's still the best.
Damn, why is everyone hating on tenz, dude? Let the guy live. You know, he has bad games here and there. Everyone always gives him shit.
The level of expectation that LeBron had when he entered the league was similar to the expectation that Tyson had after that Sentinels event and even before that when he was on Cloud9. Because everyone just expected 30 kills out of him every time. And then when they went on their slump, literally for a year straight, maybe longer, all he got was hate. And for a young kid with those kinds of expectations, it's very, very difficult to come back from that. So you have to respect it.
Even when he was at his lowest, other players would still praise his skill because they knew he had it in him. So after this, he started to reinvent himself and his playstyle on Omen and looked impressive as well. Very similar to how Messi changed his position and playstyle over time, where he started as a right wing to a traditional striker to what he is most known as nowadays as a playmaking forward. Like most GOATs, the team is built around them, and they have the freedom to do things that other players usually would get chewed out by their coach for. A common thing with Messi is that he likes to walk around the pitch a lot, which allows him to conserve energy at his older age as well as read the holes in the defense. Most strikers would not have this blessing from their coach, and for tenz, it's his crazy aggressive plays on Omen out of all agents. We've seen some players try to do this with less success this year already, but tenz is able to get away with this because most of his risky plays actually pays off. He also has a blessing from his team and coaches, mainly because they trust his ability to dominate, which he has proven to do, time in and time out. At Masters Madrid, out of all the participants who played at least 100 rounds, tenz had the 15th best ACS and 16th highest average damage per round, which is pretty good, but not really GOAT status, right? However, if we just look at every player who played Omen, then we see Sentinel's original Golden Boy was #1 in both categories. Omen at this event was the second highest picked agent and above Raze too. A part of that was the fact that Sentinels did play the most amount of rounds out of everyone else at this event, but those numbers still prove that just like Messi, a player who can put the ball in the net and support his teammates, tenz is an offensive threat too. I mean shoot, Messi was still carrying Argentina in the World Cup of 2022. But his role wasn't as dominant as it was in the past. Messi actually had a solid team on both the defensive and offensive end this time, which really proved to be the difference maker. Just like how tenz at Masters Madrid had a solid team from top to bottom as well, which makes sense at the end of the day. Both sports are team-based, and a player's greatness can only go as far as the team does. Now on to basketball, which has a lot of GOAT candidates. Some will say Michael Jordan because of his impressive 6-ring dynasty stretch, maybe LeBron James because of his longevity. Others will mention Kobe for his intensity and Mamba mentality, Curry due to his shooting prowess. Shoot, there's even a push for Tim Duncan now, which is just crazy to me. Regardless, I'ma just choose LeBron James as an example for today. Again, I'll be more happy to do a part 2 with other players in each sports if this video gets 700 likes. As I mentioned before, some say LeBron James is a GOAT because of his accolades with longevity. However, I want to point out a different aspect of his: flexibility. This man can and has played each position on the court from 1 through 5 at a world-class performance. It was one of the reasons why people say he was built for basketball. Yes, he can put up crazy points per game, but this is a team sport, and he might be the best at elevating his teammates. He has done more with less because of this ability to bring out the best in others. So when asking who's the LeBron James of Valorant, we are asking who's the best flex player. Basically, who was built for this game. So when looking for the LeBron James of Valorant, we're not looking for an agent pool. We're seeking which player has an agent ocean. First off the bat, Forsaken comes to mind. I want to say that he has longevity checks since he's been playing this game very close to its inception at the pro level, and I don't see him retiring anytime soon. He currently has played 18 out of the 24 agents released so far. He only has a negative KD on 3 of those characters. Astra, whom he only played once, Sage, who isn't expected to be a hard carry, and Cypher, which I guess you can say is his worst character. However, that still means he's done well on 15 other agents. He has over $200,000 in winnings so far, as well as a handful of top 4 placements at the international stage. He is no stranger at getting first place in the Pacific region either. He has recently been playing a lot of Initiator, but has put up legendary and world-class stats on agents he doesn't play too often anymore as well, just like how he did with Raze at Masters Madrid. I have to mention that while scripting this video, I found it pretty funny and odd to compare a 6'9", 250 pounds behemoth to this. But hey, I already commissioned the thumbnail, so we just gotta see it through, my boy. And I mean, what can we say? Maybe this is just what peak Valorant players look like. Regardless though, that sentiment is coming from somebody who likes to root for Paper Rex from time to time. I have to say the real LeBron James of Valorant is Chronicle. We can't forget about his past achievements, even though we should forget about this haircut. Regardless, throughout his career, Chronicle has played a total of 14 agents, and only one of them has a negative KDA. Neon, which he only played once. Unlike Forsaken though, all his agents have an average combat score above 200. The majority being over 220 as well. If that doesn't scream flexibility at the highest stage, then I don't know what does. What really separates him from Forsaken is the fact that he has 3 international titles and the second highest first place finishes in all tournaments at the pro level. He got the job done at the global stage with both Gambit and Fnatic. All he's really missing is a Champions Trophy. If that happens, then we might need to have a conversation of him being the de facto GOAT of Valorant, since he's been playing this game at the pro level since the very beginning in 2020. If he doesn't retire soon, then that's a check for longevity too. We could let recency bias take over and put Forsaken ahead of him, but that wouldn't be the right thing to do in the slightest. I do have to say that both these individuals' careers are far from over. If Forsaken is able to get a couple of more trophies, then I don't think anyone would be upset at calling him the LeBron James of Valorant, or the best flex player in Valorant's history. Only time will tell at this point. And now for tennis, which is going to be a little tricky for a number of reasons. First, if you don't include doubles, then you realize tennis is not a team sport. Second, there are a handful of GOAT candidates actually living today. Roger Federer for his longevity, Nadal who has the second most major titles, and Djokovic who has the most overall major titles. Most will say Djokovic because of his playstyle and the way he carries himself. However, Nadal isn't that far behind. I can see the narrative switching pretty easily if he wins a few more. Regardless, I want to look at female tennis because it's a lot easier to pinpoint. I mean, it's Serena Williams, guys. If someone says anyone else, then they're just being delusional. So when asking who the Serena Williams of Valorant is, then I think we should look at Games Changers, Riot's competitive league for women and other marginalized genders. I have to be honest, I don't watch a lot of Game Changers. It's hard enough to keep up with tier 1. I just watch a few finals and highlights here and there. So I asked people who the GOAT is, and many people said Mimi or Mel, because I guess they are some of the most popular players in this league, and popularity is important for the GOAT debate. A lot of people sleep on Chronicle because of this. You could say he's probably the second, third, or even fourth most popular player on his team. And both Mimi and Mel do have some nice track records too. Same with Floor, who got mentioned a few times and looks cracked. A few brought up Queen Bobsta as well, who's currently playing in Challengers with Supply and Demand Esports, aka SAD Esports. All these players that I've mentioned so far have gotten a first place finish in Game Changers at one point in time. But I think the GOAT here should be the one who actually makes it to tier 1 and does well there. Right now, Queen Bobsta is the closest since Challengers is a more competitive league and has direct path to tier 1 through Ascension. Next, I think Mel and Mimi do have a good shot, mainly because a good IGL is rare to find, while duelists are kind of a dime a dozen when you compare the two. And at the same time, I don't want to throw any tier 1 IGLs under the bus, but I think we know that there are some EMEA and Chinese teams that Mel would actually improve their play if given the chance. I mean, the strategy part of the game is definitely a weakness that most analysts are saying is holding China back. And it's also a thing that I see happen in a lot of EMEA teams as well. Of course, there are some bigots out there saying that women can't be smarter than men, but most of my science professors are females. And there was a time where people said that women couldn't be doctors, but now there's a lot of them that provide care to hundreds and even thousands of people. I've seen some highlights of Game Changer players actually dominating other pros in rank, which I know rank is different than pro play, but putting up amazing numbers in Radiant lobbies shouldn't be slept on. Demon 1 and Ethan were once considered just rank grinders before proving themselves as well. kyouran came directly from rank to being a top 5 controller in the world. Shoot, the same applies to Octi too, and he has shown amazing flashes of brilliance. I honestly think both these individuals are better than the few tier 1 players that I've seen so far this year. And I guess a big part of that is because of nepotism, which at times can be a happy coincidence and give individuals a legit chance to show the world that they belong, but it can also lower the level of play, which we've seen already in tier 1 of Valorant for a while now. At the end of the day, one of the goals of Game Changers is to give esports players a chance to prove themselves, but usually don't have that opportunity because of their gender. So the first Game Changers player to make that jump into tier 1 and do well would be my GOAT. Next is the NFL. Here you have some choices, but most will say Tom Brady, and rightly so. The man has dominated the league for 2 decades and done it with 2 different teams. He benefits from being the quarterback, which is seen as the most important role in the NFL, even though they're not on the field during the defense. Regardless, QBs are the architect and masterminds behind the offense, and have to read the defense as well, so they have to know both the offense and defensive plans. Basically, if we're asking who the Tom Brady of Valorant is, we're asking who is the GOAT IGL, aka in-game leader. We have some choices in finesse, boaster, and I'm sure some Sentinels fans will say John QT, even though he still needs some time to prove himself in the longevity department. But as promised to my Argentinians, you won in this department. The answer is saadhak. The man has the most Tier 1 first place placements among all players. These numbers include both regional and global wins. He first reached the global stage with Vikings, but most know him for his time on Loud. And this team, in my opinion, is the closest to being Valorant's first dynasty. However, that organization has gone through a number of changes. Only him and Les remain from the Loud team that won champs 2022. So not only has saadhak been able to lead a team to multiple top 4 finishes with different metas, but with different personnels as well. Even the head coach has changed multiple times, basically meaning saadhak has been a part of a new team, and he's the common denominator behind their success. How many players can say that they started a meta that seemed to be the strongest and best so far? saadhak may be one of the few to have this claim. The double controller meta began with Viper Harbor, and to this day kinda has evolved to Omen and Viper, or basically any controller with Viper. Nowadays, Loud was able to make it far with a flash heavy comp with no sentinels. This is coming during a time where some analysts said that flashes aren't important in Valorant's pro scene. Man single-handedly proved those naysayers wrong. I mean, how else could you come in second place in the Americas, which is one of the toughest leagues, and then reach top 4 in Masters Madrid when going against the best of the world using flashes? And the funny thing is, the only accolade that he doesn't have is a Masters title. And I know people really love finesse, people really love boaster, but when you look at all the things that saadhak has been able to do, as well as just being known as having the world's strongest mental, you have to say he's the GOAT IGL in Valorant's history so far. But you guys let me know down below who are your GOATs and why. And again, 700 likes and I'll do a part 2. But till next time, y'all stay safe and I'll be yapping in the next one.